Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Heartland Mamas.
I'm Heidi Henry,
And I'm Murri Briel.
and we're talking to you from the edge of the Great Red Divide.
Today we're going to be focusing on our Senate races that are so very important and why we need to really push toward taking back those Senate seats.
We're all pretty tired of Mitch McConnell and his blocking of all legislation for 6 years under the Obama administration, and for the last, since Congress has been back in session this year. So,
But before we get into that, we just want to hit a little bit on how incredibly ridiculous this 4th of July celebration is that we are putting on for, Herr Fuhrer.
Orange Caligula, as I like to call him. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, we do not live in an authoritarian society. We don't do military parades like this. We have Memorial Day celebrations where we honor our veterans. We have 4th of July to honor the birth of our country and the work that our founders did. Everybody from Patrick Henry to George Washington to John Hancock, those people who lived and breathed and died, including some of my relatives that came over, at Mayflower time, that died in the American Revolution and the Civil War.
And we haven't always, I'd like to jump in here for a second. We haven't always been a great nation. We talked a little bit about how we were founded on religious principles and how those movements can go positive or negative depending on where you stand. But the thing is that typically we strive to be better. We work hard to be better. That manifest destiny mentality has only been in our brains for 200 years. We can get out of it. And that's what we're doing right now. So as much as, Trump Jong-un wants his parade, we are the reason to celebrate. Those of us who are fighting and resisting. And I think actually public sentiment around the world has gone up for Americans because we were always very arrogant. We've always been looked at as being rude and not understanding world culture. And this throwback to the Dark Ages, this fascist regime slowly rising, lets us know just how tenuous and fragile our democracy is and how we shouldn't be arrogant about it because guess what?
We have a democracy, not a autocracy. Is that right? What am I saying? I'm saying the wrong word. Anyway, so we don't live in an authoritarian society. We don't parade our military down the street. We don't. And to have this happen, number one, the amount of money that we're going to spend, the city of Washington, D.C., and remember that little area is not just where our president and senators and congressmen hang out. It is an actual city that has to absorb the cost of having their streets tore up by military vehicles that aren't meant to go on the street. So now they're talking about, can they save, $5 to $10 million by parking them? Saving $5 to $10 million, really? We have schools in Washington, D.C. that are struggling right now. Why in the world are we worried about streets because we have to have a military parade? Our streets in Washington, D.C. are not made to run military vehicles down.
And it's and the cost for the city of Washington, D.C. is D.C.
D.C. is saying that it could cost between 10 and 18 million dollars.
And we're taking 2.1 from the Park District.
Well, plus another $2 million from the Park District. It's over 4, and they said it could go as high as 6.
And our park districts don't have garbage can liners for people to toss their trash in.
Yeah, but
President Trump, with all due respect, perhaps you could take $2 million of those dollars and give it to forest workers so they can sweep the forest.
Oh, yeah. My daughter and I were talking the other day about raking the forest. We were driving through
Stop the fires. They keep it nice and clean.
We were driving through Starved Rock, and she goes, "How would you rake this?"
You wouldn't.
You can't.
So the ridiculousness of this administration is maddening. It's frustrating. My question is, you had the House and the Senate, and he tried for 2 years.
Yeah.
This is his third attempt
at
getting a big hoopla parade. Mm-hmm. Why now? We have a Democratic House.
Right.
And a Republican Senate. Why is the city of D.C. giving in to him?
Well,
Why is the Senate giving in to him?
The city has no choice. The Park Service has no choice. This is, Donald Trump has decided he's going to have this parade no matter what. This would be, if he didn't have to approve it, a violation of the Hatch Act, which means that you cannot use public taxpayer dollars to support a candidate, which is exactly, this is a political event. Make no mistake about that. And furthermore, Murri, doing this, he's said that we have to have a B2 flyover, okay? Those flyovers cost per plane almost $150 million, or $50,000. $150,000 per plane, and they usually have 6 to 8 planes. So that's, the cost for this parade could go over $100 million, and we won't know the full costs until all the bills come in the next 2 months.
Oh, but the best part is, we had to complain about $30 million for the Mueller investigation. Okay, so let's talk about why this is crap.
Well,
who can stop this?
Well, you asked. Wait a minute. I want to give my theory on why now.
Oh, please. Yes.
The United States is the equivalent to a young, exhausted mother with a terrible 2 toddler that they just are going to buy the toy for so they can get done with shopping and get home.
That's so sad. Don't do it.
Don't do it.
Don't buy the toy. We can't tell you enough as experienced moms, because you will spend the next 6 months with a toddler telling them no to every toy that they think that they can get.
Yeah.
And with a teenager the next 2 years.
What's next? What's next? I mean, if we spend $100 million, and I'm not saying,
my God,
on this
it's
parade,
ridiculous.
and we, like I said, we won't know the
Hell,
cost.
I don't care about $100 million. Let's conservatively estimate. Let's really...
Well, say it was $10 million, because we know it will be at least $10 million.
We know it'll be at least 20.
Well, okay, so we know that. We also know that we have people sleeping on the cement floor with a silver fold-up blanket like I have in the glove box of my truck, and getting 1 meal a day in concentration camps. And yes, it's what they are, internment camps. We know that we have a war on poverty against, well, I shouldn't say a war on poverty. We have a war against impoverished people right now. Right now, our president is talking about rounding up homeless people and adding those to the internment camps because he doesn't like homeless people on the street. For God's sake, they're homeless because the wealthy people put them there. That is an economic disease.
You realize, I just had to do some math here.
Yeah.
At our, at the current rate of, I just did 2 million. Ha ha ha, let me add another zero here. This will be fun. All right, so at $775 a day, which is what they're paying right now to house the immigrants that they can't
Which
give
you could stay at
a toothbrush or soap or a bed too.
I told you they could stay at the Grand Floridian, put 4 kids in a room with an adult, and you could have a whale of a good time.
You could be on a cruise. A cruise is $300 a day.
Is it?
Just put them on cruise ships.
It's cheaper to stay at the Grand Floridian. I've stayed there.
So $20 million, which is the conservative estimate, would be 25,806 people
for a day.
So we have a 2-hour parade that is going to cost us a ridiculous amount of money, or at the ridiculous cost of $775, which we can't even provide what we need, we could have 25,000 taken care of, which we can't because it's wrong in general. But what I'm saying is, it makes no sense.
It makes this, right now, with our economy, and we know the economy is not working for everyone, to spend this kind of money this foolishly, you can never complain about the Mueller report ever again.
No.
Ever again. It's just like you can never...
And we recovered all the costs from the Mueller report through fines and fees and punishments.
Right.
Jesus, Mary, and Joseph. All right, let's get back to our Senate.
Okay.
So real quick, I want to tell you why the Senate is just so incredibly important. You think of, we're co-equal branches of government. Mm. You forget, or we often forget, that the House and the Senate together make one branch.
Well, and I want to explain, Murri, that when we talk about impeachment in the House, the Democrats have control of the House and they could bring impeachment proceedings. It would go to the Senate and die.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mitch McConnell will never call it to the floor because he calls himself the Grim Reaper because he will not let legislation through. And for him to continue There was a piece of legislation, and this is off topic. We weren't planning on talking about this. We had a emergency border funding crisis bill go through the House, went to the Senate. The Senate changed it, so all these millions of dollars don't have oversight, so nobody knows where they go. Hello, Betsy DeVos. So where we know that we already are spending an exorbitant amount for nothing, per person, $775 per person per day at the border for no soap, no shampoo, no combs, no beds, and a silver frickin' blanket and one meal a day, and drink your water out of the toilet. And we know these are facts. We are now sending them more, billions and billions of dollars more, because the Senate changed the bill to have no oversight, and we're sending it to the border. This could make the cost per person per day over $1,000, which isn't money that will be spent on the people. It will be spent on income for the people providing the service. So why would the Senate remove oversight? If anything, we need more oversight down there.
Because they don't want any sort of a check on the presidential controls. And the president being allowed to turn the ICE into the Gestapo, they want to have none of that. And that's just the way it is. So real quick.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. I just want to let everyone know what the Senate is predominantly responsible for. They're responsible for the presidential parade. Totally kidding. They're not responsible for that. But if it helps you get your butt out and start campaigning for somebody who's vulnerable, I'll tell you anything you want to hear.
No, but truthfully, they're the ones that could stop the presidential parade, stop this gross
misuse of public funds.
Public funds.
Right.
Gross is an understatement.
So one of the things that Heidi and I have talked about many times is how incredibly crucial the Senate is as far as appointments. Appointments, which means cabinet members, national security members, anything that is a required position for a background check the Senate is responsible for approving. That includes our judicial system, which we now have 235 judges, federal judges, which are going to shape our court for a very long time.
Decades.
So to me, the most important aspect of the Senate is their confirmation and their...
And that goes back to our talk on the Federalist Society a couple of episodes ago, because those judges weren't picked by Donald Trump. They were picked by the Federalist Society. You need to look that up.
So they do investigations, censures, treaties, but the other thing that they do that is extremely important is in closely contested presidential races, they get the deciding vote.
Yes.
So here we go. We've got this giant mess. We've got a Senate that won't let us do anything, that won't stop, that won't... I mean, the House has passed, 300 bills or something at this point, and they all go to die in Mitch's land?
Yeah, well, it's not quite 300, but it's closer
high.
to 2. But Mitch McConnell won't call any of that legislation to the floor without extreme changes like they did to the border funding bill. And any judge appointments, any cabinet appointments, it's just a rubber stamp. Remember, we just had the president's children at a major summit.
And I don't even think that she has security
She
clearance.
doesn't. And here's the thing. My daughter just got a new job. She had to go through a security clearance for a less than $20 an hour job.
Oh, I have to go through a gigantic security clearance every year to coach youth soccer, to coach in the school system. Freaking Starbucks has a better background check system than...
We have Ivanka and Jared, who have no security clearance. They couldn't pass a security clearance check, but they're out there representing you on your dime. You're paying for this. I just want you to be real clear on that, because you
paid for them to go over to England as a family and hobnob with the royals.
You paid for them to go to see Kim Jong-un the other day, and you paid for them to go to the G20 summit.
And they are not
qualified.
And they're not they're not employed by the government.
Right.
They are freeloading.
They're freeloading.
Twerps.
And the thing is people will say, well, they don't take a salary. They don't have to, because they're just building their brand. All they're doing is making deals on the side. A lot of people have to have, a side deal to get by nowadays. Their side deals are in the billions of dollars, honey, and you're paying for it.
So well, this side hustle's a little stronger for them.
Yeah.
So the reason that we really want to hit on the Senate is because what is more American than getting out there and volunteering and trying to make a change and pushing agendas forward that are important to us and not giving up that ground. Today we're going to hit 2 senators because we are going to hit Martha McSally out of Arizona.
Well, you're going to hit on her.
And you are going to do... I'm not going to hit on her.
I'm going to talk about Susan Collins.
I mean, that's not that I don't find women attractive, but Martha McSally.
I didn't know you swung that way.
But, well, you know.
We're just kidding.
No, it's all right. It doesn't bother me.
Okay, so let's talk about Martha McSally, because holy cow.
So the story behind Martha McSally, I'll give you a brief synopsis for those of you who aren't familiar. Martha McSally was running for Senate against Pickly Poo. Kirsten, how do you pronounce her name? Sinema or Samina?
I thought it was Samina.
Samina. Okay. So Kirsten Samina was running for Senate. She and this delightful Martha McSally were both challenging. Kirsten wins the Senate seat, which
tell them which state she's from, Martha McSally, because we're not talking about which state.
Arizona.
Arizona.
Okay. No, so Arizona, yes. Arizona, Martha McSally. So she came into this race. She lost the race. She lost the popular vote. Remember, a Senate race is for the whole state.
Right.
So she lost the vote. John McCain passed away, and the Republican governor appointed Martha McSally to John McCain's seat.
Yep.
So now we have someone who the people do not care for. They did not vote in. They feel somewhat violated.
Yeah.
We have a state that is slowly swinging blue, even though there's still a Republican governor. The sentiment and the polls are going bluer and bluer. This is a prime opportunity to get someone to knock her out. And we are excited!
Yes. And who's running against her? Because I love who's running against her.
Mark Kelley! Astronaut! We didn't plan that.
We didn't.
Astronaut Mark Kelley. So not only is he an astronaut, not only does he have an amazing record of public service and intelligence and articulation, but he is also the husband of Gabby Giffords.
Yeah, and Gabby Giffords, a true American hero. You know, if you want to celebrate anybody 4th of July, celebrate people like Gabby Giffords, who nearly gave her life in service to her country, not as a soldier, but as a public servant, and was shot in the head and is terribly brain injured from it. And Mark Kelley is her husband, who stood by her through all of this. And I wasn't real familiar with her career before she was gunned down, but became more familiar afterwards. And I think it would be part of her legacy, part of her service to her country, for Mark Kelley to step in now. And on his own, he is an amazing person. So very worthy of being a senator. I mean, in a great tradition of astronaut senators.
And this is the only challenger that is out there as of yet.
Right.
So we have one choice here. He has a great reputation. He would be an excellent senator. You know, but there's still time for other folks to get into the race, and anything can happen.
Anything could happen.
But as we progress farther and we get through petition season and people start to get on the ballot, it's really important that even if you don't live in Arizona, let's say you live in Utah, or you live in New Mexico, or you live in California. Y'all are pretty blue out there. So help out. I know donations, you know, I have a thing about donating, but I also ran for office, and it may not seem like a lot. But if you can give $10, that buys 5 signs.
Yeah.
If you can give $5. If you can't, you can help by calling. You can send messages. You can. Text. There are a lot of different ways to become involved. So we're encouraging you.
You know, I'll tell you what. The hardest thing you can find is people to go knock on doors or be in parades for you, or take a booth at a fair, and people are like, "Oh, that's so scary." not scary at all. It is fun to do.
It's a really good time.
You always have...
it's hot. I don't like hot. I'm just going to warn you all. I don't do well in hot. I'm an ice baby. I like it cold.
Yeah. I work
Very
outside,
cold.
so...
I work outside too, and it is,
know.
and I hate hot. Like I melt like the Wicked Witch of the West without water. I don't know. It's awful.
But get out there and do some parades. And if you want if you're in the area and need help learning how to door knock, come call us, message us.
We can
teach
actually
you.
come out and do clinics for you and help
Yeah.
you learn how to door knock, what you can and can't do, what you should and shouldn't say, help you come up with your questions. Just let us know. We're happy to help in any way we can.
Yeah. So let's move on. I have Susan Collins.
Oh, Susan.
She's from Maine, and
she's only one of the other ones I hate even more.
Yeah.
Murkowski, but
yeah, Murkowski. She's 22 years in office. 22 years is a long time. I am not a big fan of term limits, but if you took out gerrymandering, we would have automatic term limits because people would, not so much in Senate races, but in other races, people would, they just wouldn't have it. You know, they wouldn't have
and I also think, too, just the changing demographic. People move and ebb and flow, and I think there's like a cycle of every 4 years of urban areas sort of renovating and moving out. And so you don't know what that's going to be necessarily. And I don't think they should be able to draw the lines based on who votes how.
Well, and the thing is that in Senate, I think she started out as a different person than she is now, but she became a very Washington politician. Very Washington. Very, very, very structured by her party. Her votes are structured by her party. She's obviously told how to vote and for whom and for what, and it helps fund her campaign. And so she started out as a good senator, but we've watched her votes deteriorate over time on environmental issues, on reproductive issues, and on her rubber stamp for anybody they put up for the Supreme Court. Anybody her party puts up for the Supreme Court,
she likes to pretend that she's not going to do it.
She pretends to be independent, but God, we know.
Heidi and I both donated before she even had a challenger.
Yeah, we donated to her crowdfunding.
But here's one thing I want to mention about Maine. Maine is a ranked choice state, which is very different. It's the first one to be official. Is that correct? It's the first. So this is a bit of an experiment. And a ranked choice state is neither Democratic nor Republican. Right. It's non-party.
Right.
It is still partisan, but you could have two Democrats facing off against each other. You could have two Republicans facing off against each other.
Like in Chicago does that in their mayoral races. You can, in all of their races, it doesn't matter what party you are. The top two vote getters in the general election. Yeah, in the primary move on. And I love that idea.
Wouldn't that be fantastic if we had our two challengers win in Maine? Think about that. You know, Susan Collins, you got to sit back and watch the election, girl. You're going home because there are two amazing women running.
Right. So her first challenger would be Sara Gideon. She is the main Speaker of the House. She's a poverty warrior like me, which I love. If you can speak for poor people, I mean, I've been a poor person.
Or speak to.
No, don't speak to us. We hate that.
Speak to, not at.
Okay. No, speak with. Trust me on this.
Speak with.
You have to include...
Hey, I've been poor too. Tell me, trust me, I still am poor. Feel free to donate. Yeah. Smash the like button. Help us get some more followers. Sorry, sidebar. We would love to have your help because we do, put this all on ourselves.
Well, and this goes to...
Side note, you can send me the money.
This goes to my thought process is we need to elect more poor people because we know how it works. We know how it works in the streets, man.
And here's the problem with exactly what you said. You were 100% correct. We need more AOCs. We need more Katie Porters. We need more, average people who are brilliant and willing to challenge the system to stand up and do it. Now, unfortunately, we can't do that because financially, it
was a year without pay for me last year.
It's impossible. So unless you have the money and the backing, or not even the money yourself, but the backing behind you. The only way to get the backing behind you is to go to fundraisers and give money and get involved. And then if you do it long enough, you will end up getting backing. But then by then you owe so many people so many favors that you're really stuck in the middle. So until we can get, I love Andrew Yang. I'm going to shout out to Andrew Yang again here.
Yeah.
I love the fact that he's considering giving $100 to every person in the country to apply to the candidate of their choice.
I didn't hear about that.
Every election year,
yeah,
every person in the United States will get $100 to be given to whatever election, and that's the funding that gets used.
I love that.
So you're giving people a chance to have their voice heard monetarily as well as vote-wise.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like, it's so hard to be heard.
I'm liking you more and more, Andrew Yang.
It's so hard to be part of the process to begin with. And it's so hard to have just anybody be able to run. And I mean, not just anybody, but everybody should have the opportunity to run. Not people with MD, PhD, Esquire after their name. But that's the people who we end up running that can afford to take the time off to run.
That have the connections to get the big bankrolls so that, if I go to Harvard, I am going to have no offense to anyone who went to Harvard or who's fortunate enough to be in that socioeconomic class. But if I go, I'm going to know a lot more people who are going to be more connected and make more money than I am having gone to Illinois State. Now, I know a ton of people.
I went to college at DuPage.
There you go. So, there's a big difference. And I love these people, but they don't have the connections in the poll that someone else would.
Right. And as we're learning, more and more people are buying their way into those colleges, and we'll talk about that in another episode. But I wanted to let you know that the challengers that Susan Collins has, in addition to Sara Gideon, is Betsy Sweet, who's a former gubernatorial candidate, and Briel Kidman, who is a lawyer. She's also being challenged within her own party by Derek Leusauer, is a French name, conservative blogger. So she's
that will never go anywhere.
No, I think if that's your
especially
only credential.
because it's ranked choice.
Yeah.
This is a disadvantage for ranked choice, is that name recognition is going to be extremely more important.
Right.
Because unless you're just a Democrat and vote Dem.
Yeah.
But name recognition is going to be really
huge.
Important. And they're hoping that citizens of Maine will do the research on the candidates and come out.
I was just thinking when I was knocking on doors and people go, "Oh, you're Heidi Henry. That's a great name." And I my line is always, I looked around a long time and met a man named with the last name Henry and married him. My maiden name was Furshaw. Think about that on a sign. But I love being the double H. We have been for a long time. Poor Stanley. So but that was my name recognition, because outside of like 4-H and FFA and Horse World, you wouldn't have known who I was. I mean, when I do charity work, I don't do it for name recognition. How I have a hard time talking about that. What I do to help people. I don't do it for my own. I don't need it for my ego. I need it because I'm called to serve, right? So that always bothers me. It's like, why would I go and work at PADS and then put my face there? I'm at PADS. No, you're not there for that. You're not there at the food pantry for your face.
You're there to work.
I'm there to work and help. And every selfie I take is taking away from the work I'm supposed to be doing. So when I go out and do stuff, I labor of love, and I can't pound a straight nail, but I can try. I'm not there for the photo op. I can't tell you how many. I still did river cleanup. I still did parks cleanup. I still did canal cleanup. I did, and because I'm always cleaning up because I'm avid environmentalist. I never hike without a garbage bag with me. So to me, that's just who I am. And maybe I should have talked about it as Heidi the candidate, but I didn't. And
those are things you learn. I mean, as you go along in your candidate, you grow into the position, you learn where you should be. And what I'm really curious about with this coming up race is to see how the ranked choice really plays out. Are those photo ops, is that self-promotion going to be enough for somebody like crazy conservative blogger to
Derek L.
bump up? Or is he a plant? Are plants even usable the way they are here in primary systems because now it's a different system. It'll be really interesting. So this is a race that ideally we would love to see two Democrats win the top two spots.
Oh my gosh,
if it could be
Sara and Briel.
Like, check.
You know, the thing.
And then the other thing though is, will they destroy each other to try to get there?
I don't know. I have seen a modicum of that within the presidential candidates. I mean, a very small amount.
But if they're smart,
they're not doing it.
They will both run as hard as they can. They'll get to where they need to go.
Run on your own issues. Run on your own abilities.
She will then turn around, whoever the winner is, and offer an excellent position as an advisor in her cabinet, and the level of campaigning will drop down, and it will all be happy land.
You know, I couldn't stand my opponent. Her position, and we put her on a timeout.
I couldn't stand one of mine.
I know. But my job wasn't to eviscerate her. It was to talk about my vision for the
Absolutely.
district.
And that's what you have to remember. That's what a lot of these candidates are doing. But, you know, we just really wanted to highlight the importance today of the Senate
race.
And why the Senate is important. What races are key.
There's so many races out there, and we've kind of gone over our time, so we're not going to go into more candidates right now.
But we will be coming back every other week with a Senate update.
Yeah.
And we'll hit 2 or 3 senators, talk about why it's important for us to get behind them and support them and push their message out there.
And the importance of just being active and involved. I hate the phrase woke. You know, I just hate that. Be woke. No, being active and involved. And this 4th of July, instead of watching the Trump parade, the military spectacle that it's supposed to be.
It would be awesome if everyone in D.C. just left.
Yeah.
Had no one show up.
Don't turn it on your TV.
Except his bikers and his maggots and his Proud Boys. Let them be there, and everyone else in the world go away.
Do you really want to be part of the Proud Boys?
It's going to be hot as hell anyway. It's going to be like 1,000 degrees. You're
and
gonna
rainy.
Melt. It's
gonna rain.
Home.
And remember,
if you really want to see it, look out your window, but don't give him the satisfaction.
Go to your local celebrations. Go watch your local 4th of July.
Wouldn't it be nice to see an extraordinarily small crowd the way it was in England when he drove through? And on top of that, that would send a hell of a message to the Senate that this is not something that we want. This is not something that would be a great message.
Mitch McConnell doesn't see that message. He has said that he doesn't care.
Sorry, I'm going to say Mitch, the
beep. Yeah, he doesn't care about this country, and he has said that outright. He cares about an agenda, and an agenda is one person's vision. It is not the vision of the entire country, and I think we are on such the wrong page. And if anything, we've realized the holes in our democracy that have been taken advantage of. And I remember reading Plato and Socrates when I was a child, I mean in grade school, reading the perils of democracy. We're there. The perils that they described are there.
But I keep remembering, you know, that we're so young, and this was a big experiment.
Years. Yes.
And we are realizing that we're not infallible, and I think that's so important. We're realizing just how many flaws we had on this honor system we'd based things on.
Well, we expected everybody to have the level of integrity that we have, and we've realized that there are people that don't have it. Mitch McConnell and Donald Trump, you don't have any integrity. We've seen it. We've seen it up close and personal. The Proud Boys have no integrity. The maggots have no integrity. These are not people who follow the order of law. They're not people who are involved in humanity. They don't care about earth first or humanity first or God first. Even though they say those things, they say them with devoid of purpose.
And they have loud voices. The squeaky wheels get the oil, right?
Yeah.
So they're really loud, they're screaming, they're making, and the media is playing into this, but we can't talk about all that. But I will say that as the media, you know what, and I'm going to give
your fault.
I'm going to give a wag of the finger from Stephen Colbert to
I haven't watched, he hasn't been on lately.
To Lawrence O'Donnell. Lawrence O'Donnell, stop. When you deliver information, you deliver it in such a conspiratorial tone. You don't put out enough facts the way that Rachel does. You speculate on many things, which causes people to get all wound up when there's no need to speculate. There's enough actual going on.
And
You're walking that line, man. Stop. It's annoying. I have to turn you off.
Okay, and I have to say, I have no idea who that is.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't want...
Oh my gosh, I'm probably going to be in trouble for saying that. Oh, well, we better go before the FEC comes and gets me, because I said something bad about Lawrence O'Donnell. Not the FEC.
I don't watch cable news, and I think in a podcast you can pretty much say...
Whatever the heck you want.
Yeah, you can even say naughty words, even though...
Last word with Lawrence O'Donnell.
Oh, wait, I have seen that on the...
And he's like... There's a sing wind blowing in the air today. Could it be treason?
See,
I'm like,
okay,
dude. I'm going to start doing little, like when we're live somewhere, bad reporting. I think that would be fun. We'll do little live snippets of
I
bad
have
reporting.
to say that she's saying Lawrence O'Donnell and Lawrence Fishburne is popping into my brain. I'm picturing him saying that. So that's hilarious.
All right. Well, we just want to let you know, look for more episodes of Heartland Mamas. We'll be doing more Senate episodes, further episodes. If you'd like us to come out to an event, we're more than happy to. We can have cars. We'll travel. If you want to pay for us to come out, sure, whatever. I mean, like plane stuff, if you want to sing.
Yeah, if you want to fly us somewhere,
I won't come in the summer, though. Hot weather people.
I have family that lives in Arizona. And
you can stay there. See, you don't even have to put us up. But heartlandmamas.com, we really appreciate your listening. Please subscribe. Subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes, Buzzsprout, any place. Join us in our discussions.
Follow
on
us
Twitter, Reddit, Facebook, Tumblr. You can find us pretty much everywhere because we want voices amplified. We want you to feel like you have someplace to go. So
and we would love your feedback. We only ever get feedback from Andrew Yang followers.
Right, and I love Andrew Yang. All right, I'm giving you props, man. Andrew Yang followers. All right, so thank you so very much.
I love their passion.
I do too.
So
have a wonderful 4th of July. We'll see you in a couple of days.
Stay safe. Don't blow off your fingers. And if anything, turn off the TV tomorrow.
Heartlandmamas.com.
Bye-bye.